we're going to go through the 3 main ways to garden in a massive space without going absolutely totally insane. Tending a big garden is all about managing a large space in the minimum amount of time or effort and getting more produce for more than you put in. And one of the biggest things that we find is watering. Watering can take a very long time. So as soon as I come down the allotment, first thing I do is water. We have an overhead waterer. It was really cheap. It was less than £20 on Amazon. We want to have a really deep watering and really promote the roots to grow downwards and not stay at the surface, which increases their resistance to drought. If you have really deep roots, then you'll get overall more of a yield. If you're only watering them very shallowly for a couple of seconds over the top, then you'll notice that their roots will stay at the top and you'll train them to wait for you for water. We want these plants to delve really deep with deep watering. Studies have shown this is particularly effective in tomatoes and beans. How do you manage the water in your garden? Is it hose, or do you have some sort of hands-free watering system? The best point about this watering system is that you can water without having to stand physically at the bed, which frees us up to do a ton more things. So we're off to the fences to make sure we get rid of this rabbit problem that we've been having. It's been awful, something that will drive me utterly insane if I don't get a handle on. And if we're going to meet our big objective of growing a year's worth of food this year, we can't afford to lose any crops. We had an incident with the fence where it basically caught fire and it melted all of the plastic that was on there from the original owner all of those years ago. Rabbits are just walking sideways through this netted material, decimating this whole entire area. If you put a barrier that is dug into the ground, the rabbits are only shallow diggers, so they'll dig a little bit of the fence, but they'll just give up. So we're coming in, we're going to take away all of the metal that runs along the bottom. We're going to go back through and use our upcycled metal mesh from our old duck coop. It is important that you use a small hold mesh. So we've gone from 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch mesh, and that's because baby rabbits will walk through larger holes. What we're going to do is just cut them so that they are just over 2 foot tall, and we're burying the mesh about 1 foot into the ground all the way along. We're cable tying the fence for the top and the bottom. Once we've done that, it's time to put the metal fencing back. I don't think it looks as nice with the metal fencing. My husband's convinced that it does. What do you think? This is a little bit labour intensive, but it will prevent them from being able to dig under the fence and into the allotment again. This next thing that will drive me absolutely insane on the allotment is the leading cause for gardeners to give up gardening, and that's weeds. Weeds could be a really massive issue down in the allotment. They grow so quickly this time of year. So I've got some hidden tips and tricks that we use, and it is all about doing a little bit but very often and having the tools that you need available. If you do one bed at a time, it's so much easier. This time of year we all feel like everything needs to be done today. We get overwhelmed with, but if you just take it one step at a time and you realise that there is tomorrow to do these things as well, it's not so bad. Clearing one bed, it really makes such an impact, especially for your overall yield. It's all about tools as well. My hoe has changed the way I'm weeding, and it sounds really stupid, but I never hoed before until I saw a YouTube video and someone was hoeing. I was like, oh yeah, that's something that exists in the world. But until then, I genuinely used to pick everything out by hand. That and strimming. Strimming is a game changer, and it is the quickest way of weeding, and it makes such a difference. So we're making sure that we're strimming quite regularly so they do not get on top of us again this year. A combination of hand weeding the beds, because you can't trim them, and trim the edges really does make a massive difference. But I'm trying this year as much as I'm able to hoe the beds before the weeds get big and I have to hand weed them. This makes it even more easy because I don't have to bend down at all. What is your worst weed down the allotment? For me, I just can't stand sting nettles. They sting me and they're just awful.
The next job makes a massive impact on how we grow food without going totally insane.
Trellising and pruning tomatoes is a really effective way of managing a super large garden. Reduce diseases massively. Blight is the biggest cause for me to lose any sort of tomatoes, and if you do get blight, and especially if you get it badly, you can lose 100% of your tomatoes. Really important for us to make sure that we minimise that as much as possible. And spending a couple of hours trellising them, it reduces the risk of blight significantly. Completely, utterly worthwhile for me personally. I remove all of the bottom leaves, anything that looks a little bit raggedy after being transferred or is touching or nearly touching the floor. It will reduce splashing up of soil, especially when it's raining. We're also going to be removing any suckers growing out of the armpit of the plant. We remove these because if we let the plants go absolutely wild, because the amount of humidity in the air, we'll get blight 100%. We also don't have the long enough season for all of the tomatoes to get ripened. So we trim it down to either 1 or 2 stems. Without trimming them, it's absolutely mental down the allotment. It's very difficult to find the tomatoes. You get lots of pest damage because obviously you're leaving loads of yummy, ripe, splitting open tomatoes on the floor. If you like this video, check this one out. It's all about planting out a year's worth of food, and I'll see you there.